Whoa, check this out guys. I found another revenge thriller with a mind-blowing twist. A top celebrity is warming up for a swim, but just as he dives in, a nearby cleaner dumps a dozen venomous snakes into the water. As he prepares to leave, he notices one still stuck at the bottom of the bucket. He glances at the bodyguard, sees they aren't looking, and stealthily drops the last snake in. The star is oblivious to the danger the moment he surfaces for air. A venomous snake lunges and bites him right in the face. Driven by pure survival instinct, Lee Do-seok scrambles ashore with his last bit of strength, but the venom is already taking effect, quickly sending him into a semi-conscious state. The bodyguards rush to call an ambulance, but as they reach the entrance, one has already arrived. The paramedics claim to be injecting anti-serum, but they actually draw a vial of his blood. But just as they are about to leave, a second ambulance pulls up. It turns out the first group were vigilantes in disguise. With their cover about to be blown, the man draws a dagger to cover his partner's escape. They take the star to a remote cabin and tie him up, hacking him up with a bucket of cold water. These people kidnapped him for one reason: revenge. 15 years ago, this man raped and murdered 10 women. Later, during a police chase, he provocatively slashed Detective Choi's mouth but spared his life, escaping right under his nose and vanishing for the next 15 years. The irony: at the time, South Korea had a 15-year statute of limitations for such crimes. The day after the statute expired, this man Lee Do-seok called a press conference, claiming to be the killer from 15 years ago, but in this appearance he hasn't come to repent. Instead, he has brought a book titled I Am the Murderer. In the book, with an almost boastful tone, he details the process of every crime, as well as the specifics of how he evaded police pursuit. This book, chronicling his bloody crimes, met no resistance. Instead, its sales topped 1 million copies in just a few days. Leveraging his handsome looks and a carefully crafted image of a penitent sinner, he quickly captured a massive following of young female fans. These fans completely ignore his identity as a killer, obsessed only with his so-called talent and charisma. They line up at book signings holding up light boards, as if welcoming an A-list idol. This once hidden demon has transformed himself into a high-profile social celebrity. Incredibly, such an explosive plot is actually based on real events. This is a film that shamed the entire South Korean judicial system. Its release sparked massive social debate and became a major force of public opinion in driving legal reform. 3 years after the film's release, the South Korean National Assembly officially abolished the statute of limitations for murder, ensuring that justice no longer has an expiration date. To its biting irony, it ranks 19th on Duban's list of top-rated revenge movies and has won awards for Best Picture, Best Screenplay and Best New Director. Fans have hailed it as a textbook for plot twists. What sets it apart from traditional thrillers is its narrative from an almost omniscient perspective, making you believe for a moment that you know the whole truth, only to completely subvert all your assumptions at the end. Ever since Lee Do-seok transformed into a top celebrity to solidify his public image, Lee Do-seok launched a series of meticulously planned PR stunts, made high-profile donations of his massive book royalties to charity, crafting an image of a man seeking redemption. He even brought the press to the police station, attempting to reconcile with his old nemesis officer, Choi Hyung-gu, a move that was purely provocative. Faced with this monster beyond the reach of the law, Choi Hyung-gu's fury reached its boiling point. Right in front of the cameras, he slammed a bowl of black bean noodles into Lee's face, yet this played right into Lee Do-seok's hands. The media coverage only sent his soaring popularity into overdrive. Then Lee staged an even more dramatic performance. He knelt in the pouring rain outside the home of an elderly victim's father, putting on a show of deep remorse. Overwhelmed by the grief and anger of losing his daughter, the old man gave him a stinging slap. The media capturing every second Lee had achieved his goal once more. He successfully painted himself as a penitent man seeking forgiveness, only to be rejected, a tragic figure who won the sympathy of the oblivious public. While Lee Do-seok basked in the fame and fortune born of his crimes, a dark undercurrent of hatred was quietly surging. The forgotten families of the victims watched as the killer basked in the spotlight's glory, while they had endured 15 years of agonizing grief. Failed by a toothless law and a twisted society, they abandoned all hope in the system, deciding instead to deliver their own long-overdue justice. They discovered that after the book signing, Lee Do-seok would reserve the entire hotel pool for his private use, and that brings us to the beginning, the kidnapping scene at the pool. They took Lee Do-seok to the hunter's secluded hideout on the outskirts there. The CEO demanded to know the whereabouts of her daughter Soo-yeon's body. However, just as the interrogation reached a critical breaking point, the power was suddenly cut, plunging the room into pitch-black darkness. In the midst of the chaos, a dark figure wearing night vision goggles slipped in like a phantom, swiftly cut Lee Do-seok's bindings and carried him away.